Technically, it's only racist to say the N-word if you do it while wearing a Klan's robe. Well, you have to be... You have to... technically, you have to be wearing the pointy hat and the white robes in order for it to be racist when you say the N-word. We're gonna watch Leaflet.
Oregon finally
Yay.
realizes that the UK has gone too far, this time too far, by Warren Smith.
John's making the studio now.
Piers Morgan is realizing that the situation in the UK is way worse than we thought. This has reached another level.
The thing with Piers Morgan too is Piers Morgan he's not exactly a conservative. He's not really a right-wing guy. He's kind of like in the center. He has a lot of like leftist views. Like he doesn't like guns, for instance. He's gotten into debates with people over this. He has
Yeah, because he's fucking British. He's European. And for those of you that don't know, in Europe there is a like some semblance of realistic gun regulation, okay, with like in contemporary times. So like in America we don't do any gun regulation, not really. In Europe they actually do it a little bit, and this is because of I think because of two reasons: because of progressive policy, it being actually being done in Europe, right? Like they, unlike in America, they actually have an opposition party that pushes for progressive policies. But anyway, it's also because they don't have the Second Amendment inscribed in their constitution. I don't believe there's any European country with like protections against the government regulating your guns or whatever. But anyway, let's keep going.
Little scuffles here and there. Like one of the big ones was he had a big fight with like Ben Shapiro. That was like kind of a big like career turn for Ben when that happened. But anyway, Piers Morgan, even though he's kind of on the left, he's a little bit more reasonable. I feel like he's kind of a little bit he's not completely psycho woke, but he's not a hardcore conservative at all, like by any means. So yeah, that's the context.
Talking about this, I was talking to my team. None of us realised that using this particular word that got you into so much trouble in a text message could ever lead to a potential prison sentence in this country.
Neither did I. It was shocking.
Piers genuinely seems shaken by this. He seems to realize that this could be the tipping point.
I'm still shocked now, if I'm honest. But obviously, I just believe that we all need to be careful with.
Well, do we? So that's an interesting question about it.
So one thing I will say about this is they're acting like Piers Morgan, is like waking up, right? He's like anti-woke now. Piers Morgan is, I've said this before, he's a media demon. Okay, he flip-flops. He's not consistent. Okay, he has no backbone. So like you see this a lot with conservatives, and you see it with liberals too, where they'll be like, this person came over to our side, they're seeing the truth. It's like, well, yeah, and I understand the appeal of like making that kind of content, because it seems like a good kind of content to like convince people, like, see, look at this person changed their mind. But the problem with it is that these media personalities, they don't actually change their minds. They don't like become woke. They don't become anti-woke. It's all bullshit. It's all smoke and mirrors. Okay, that's it. Piers Morgan cares about one thing, and that is fake outrage. Okay, more views. That's it.
Do we need to be careful, or do we need to fight back a bit about this? Is it right that you're sitting here too scared of saying that word, even in the context of talking about what happened to you, and not as a slur?
That's totally true. Like, for instance, if I want to talk about history, like history linguistics, you can't even say the N-word in reference to like something somebody said or the context in which the word was used. You can't even use it in a non-slur way, right? The intent of like how you say it doesn't matter. The word itself is so toxic that you can't even say it.
Oh my
say
God.
It yeah.
Then he goes on.
No, you can say it. You can say it. Nobody stop. I just like, I hate this. I know I say this over and over again, but I hate this bullshit where they're like, oh, you can't say the N-word, you can't say slurs. Like, no, man. You can do it. You're not gonna get arrested by the woke police. Okay? So, stop saying that. It's fucking annoying. Okay? Like, yeah. if you say slurs, people are like when they say this, what they mean is they want to say slurs with impunity. They want to say slurs, and they want to say, you can't get mad at me. You can't be mad at me. You know, that's what they want. It's stupid.
Discuss it
It's
with his family. This is where it
crybaby.
gets
It's
interesting.
I
pathetic.
discovered somebody had actually been arrested in my country
Yo, is that the goat?
for using that word in a text message. She says, being beaten up by a guy.
That's my debate
having
issue right
treatment
there.
in hospital and texting somebody that she believed had been partly responsible for her getting the beating.
And this is disturbing because the context does not seem to matter to them.
There is something
But it
wrong
is
with
not
that.
being used as a homophobic slur. In other words, it's not being targeted at a gay person.
Yeah.
In fact, they claim, well,
And so like I can use the word retard like in this, which is funny. I could say retard, right? We'll use it as an example. I think there's a massive difference. There's a huge massive difference in saying like, wow, that's retarded, right? Versus like finding a person who is developmentally disabled and then calling them it as an insult. It's the same thing with or another good one is that's gay, right? Like you say, oh, that's gay, right? But in the lingo, that doesn't necessarily refer to like, it isn't necessary. It's like you're not using it like in a way to like attack gay people. Does that make sense? And yet people still treat it that way. In fact, some words are so crazy, like the N-word. Like I can't even say the N-word, right? But like for instance, right, if I were to say the N-word, even in like a context of like a song, say I were to sing like a rap song, right? I'm 100%, I'm 200%. If I were to sing that song, and you know what song I'm talking about, if I were to sing that song, I would be fucking in trouble. I would get banned if I were to sing that song. It's just a song. You know what I mean? And like it's like you're singing a song that was made by
Whoa. You would get banned on Twitch.
I mean, you kept a gangster.
You would get banned on Twitch.
Gangster.
Okay, you still got kicked.
Talked just
You,
like
look,
you would
Leaflet,
say.
you can say it. You can say it. Nobody's gonna stop you. Okay, it's okay. If you want to say it so bad, you can do it. Go ahead.
a person
What's the problem?
who is black, by the way, and you can't say it unless you're also black. Like, so like in the exercise of being not racist, you're actually being racist. It's so weird, you know? Like, it's such a stupid thing. And like my take on it is really what matters is the intent. The intent and the context in like which you say it is obviously important. But like we've completely thrown that out the window. Completely thrown it out the window for the sake of
People telling me that I can't say the N-word is reverse racism. It's white racism, bro.
protecting the feelings of the most
How dare
sensitive
they?
among us.
even worse if you say that word directed to someone who is not gay.
I think that it's almost
Oh
worse
my
that he was
God.
right. You know, because what she's doing, she's really angry in the moment. I totally get it, and she's thinking, how can I insult this man that has done this terrible thing to me? By the way, like, you know, I hope he gets convicted too. How can I demean him? I know I'll call him gay because gay is so lower, gay is so like, you know, anti-masculine, and that's the whole point.
And she's demeaning them. So this is how we're going to determine whether or not we arrest people.
So that was the way there's 1,000 other
And see,
ways.
this is even worse. Like actually using.
Look, I've seen the headline for what they're talking about. I haven't read into it at all. If she was arrested for calling a person gay, you know, I think that's wrong. Okay, I think that's wrong for two reasons. Number one, I think that people should be allowed to do hate crimes. Okay, I'm sorry, but this is something that I'm just not going to budge on because I love freedom of speech. Okay, I'm a big freedom of speech guy. I'm a freedom of speech Puritan, as one might say. Okay, and so. This is just a liberal value that I hold dear, and by liberal I mean like, you know, traditionally liberal, technically. But yeah. What fuck? What were we talking about?
Because gay is so lower, gay is so like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, anti-masculine, and that's the whole point.
So like, even if she did say it in a hate crimey way, it wouldn't matter to me. I disagree with arresting somebody just based on their speech. Okay, even if it's bigoted, even if it's hateful. Okay. And anyway, that's not to say that people that say bigoted things, people that say racist things, I want them to face the consequences of saying those things, right? I want them to be socially ostracized, to, you know, that, like, that's it. That I want that, but I don't think that they should be arrested over it. Okay, that's why. in a country like Germany, where they arrest people for being Nazis, for being associated with Nazi party, for being associated with the Nazi party, I think that that's like kind of based. Okay, I look at that and I kind of laugh. I think that's epic. Okay, but like technically, I disagree with that. Okay, I don't really think that should actually be what they do, and it is what they do. You know, but anyway, that being said, you know, this woman shouldn't have been arrested. Okay, but like at the same time, I don't know. Like it's one fucking case in the United Kingdom. Like the right wing media is going fucking gaga over this, and you know, I don't know, man. I don't know why. Why could? I wonder why this is getting so much attention.
She's
I wonder.
demeaning them. So this is how we're going to determine whether or not we arrest people.
But that was the way so that was another
And
way.
see, this is even worse. Like actually using the law to arrest people for insults is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
She could have used to
But
describe
she
it.
said she's not homophobic and wasn't saying it as a gay slur.
I think this is the wrong level of analysis because it's not a matter of what is the emotional severity of the words. You should not be arrested for words, period, regardless
Yes.
of how I feel about the words.
Exactly.
Okay, but so what's that? You wouldn't say that
True.
people that use the N-word to describe people aren't
Well-
racist? It's just their banter between.
Well, look. I mean, look, man. Like I agree with that guy. You know, I forgot his fucking name. He's a conservative guy. Okay, but like I agree with him. Like that shouldn't be the law. But we're talking about Europe right now. Okay, and I'm not gonna go into another country and be like, this is how I think things should be. So like, yeah, other countries, they don't have freedom of speech. I'm not gonna sit here and finger wag them over it. Okay, if they want to arrest people for being bigots, I disagree with that. But like, you know, whatever. I'm not gonna sit here and fucking cry over it. And anyway, this is just a silly fucking thing to like go on and on about.
They're friends.
Well, no, because I think there
I
is a
think it's stupid.
Andrew, dude, look at his face. Hold on.
Regardless of how
Can
I
we like
feel about the
appreciate
word.
the Andrewism there?
So
Like,
what's that? You wouldn't say that people that use the N-word to describe people aren't racist? It's just their banter between their friends.
Well, no, because I think there is a
Voice Rex, thank you so much for the thank
obviously
you.
difference in severity of these words. I mean,
So race is more important than sexuality.
well, it's an interesting, arguable point.
When you go down that road of, well, yes, but this word is in another category. It's a flawed game. Don't play it.
My point
Yes,
is
exactly.
something
I
can be a
agree.
homophobic slur
I totally agree with Warren on this
or a
one.
racist slur or an anti-Semitic slur or whatever, even if a person doesn't realize that that's what they're doing.
This is similar to subconscious racism claims in critical race theory. Well, you don't even know that you're racist. That's even worse. And Pierce
Yep.
is falling into this trap. Andrew Wilson points this out.
The fact of
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
the matter is like, who gives a shit? Who cares if this woman didn't care? Who cares if she was like, you know what, I am homophobic.
Thank
and I said
God.
it because I'm homophobic. That's her business. You can say what you want. You're supposed to, at least in free nations.
You have to reject the
Yup.
premise entirely. Otherwise, it sends you into this
100
convoluted
fucking
logical
%.
circle that you're never going to get out of.
But what I'm saying is we're normalizing a word that still accompanies harm and still kind of normalizes what we do and how we treat as a society, LGBTQI folk. And so I'm just saying,
Okay.
why don't we pick a different word that doesn't cause all this?
Shut up, whore.
All right, the bigger
Yeah,
issue.
the problem is like, because they're not as fun. And the reason is,
Shut
the more
up,
that you try to make these
retard.
pushbacks, these social pushbacks, and tell people what they can and can't say, it makes them want to say it more. And you know what, Mark?
So true. I want to say it so bad all the time, you know?
Because when you try and forbid specific words, it's going to cause people to gravitate
That's
towards
so
that
true,
word to
so
make
true.
a point about your flawed game.
Like, that's what happens. The second you start making social pushback and say, hey, this word you've been calling your friends, and you guys have been joking around for years saying this stuff, you're not allowed to say it anymore because now somebody's going to get too upset about it. It literally gives them incentive to say it more.
Yeah,
when
I
I was a
don't know.
kid, got very popular. And if you remember early Eminem, he used to use this word a lot. According to this logic, if you were
No,
to
it was- we
recite
can
those
watch
rap
it.
lyrics,
We'll
you could be
watch it.
charged with a crime.
If you
Yeah,
guys wouldn't
fucking
make a
race.
big deal out of it, we wouldn't have a big deal, right? But you guys make the big deal out of it.
True.
Because objectively, this has just gotten out of
Crystal
hand.
Phoenix,
Police
thank you.
officers are making 12,000 arrests a year. That's 30 arrests a day over offensive posts on social media and other platforms. Thousands of people being detained and questioned.
I don't know about you guys, but I fucking love it when people from Europe, particularly from the UK, try to tell me that they have freedom of speech. When I say like, oh, you know, America is great because we have freedom of speech and you guys don't have that. They're like, what are you talking about? We have freedom of speech. And I'm like, I remember distinctly years ago, people saying, oh yeah, we have freedom of speech. Do you though? Yeah, they would never do. What? Like, it's not enshrined in any of your stuff. You don't have like a constitution, you have a Bill of Rights that tells you that you have that. You don't have an explicit like freedom of speech like that's codified in your constitution. And they'll, yeah, but you know, they'd never do that.
The sending messages to, quote, cause annoyance, inconvenience, or anxiety.
This is the guy on the
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you for the bits. Did you just get fined X because they regulated their posts?
panel. He is trying to play the flawed game. You can see how it just does not work.
I want to start with the numbers that you just talked about.
It's a slippery slope. Once you allow the UK to dictate how products and services are done in the United States, then it sets a precedent where like the most heckler country gets to determine all of social media for everybody else. It's a bad precedent to set. You should just tell them to go fuck themselves, to be honest.
I think there is a point where we have to look at the reality of the modern world in which we live. Yes, we all want to see more convictions for rape and murder. Those things are very hard to prove. Whereas communication, we all communicate.
Look, the surveillance state is happening. And it ain't because of the fucking UK. Okay, not entirely. I mean, I know that the UK is, like, basically at this point a dystopian, surveillance state. Okay, but so is America. So is America. Palantir? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? Meta? Banning anti-Zionist rhetoric? Interesting. So free. So freedom.
So the logic here is, well, because these significant crimes are difficult to prove, we should divert our attention to these minor crimes because there's more to play with.
It's right that the law steps in and says, you know, we've had a hand in this. We're going to step in and protect you because it takes a preventative measure, much like the NHS, where it says, you know what, rather than treat you when you're sick, let's just prevent people from getting sick where we can.
Notice that word, preventative measures, where you were trying to prevent a crime before it has even occurred. But then if the crime has not occurred, what are you arresting the person for?
Why does nobody
This is some fucking psychopath shit. There's an anime for that. It's called Psychopath.
get arrested for causing
Did they not watch like Minority Report?
Donald Trump a Nazi?
Since the assassination of Charlie Kirk and those two attempts on Donald Trump's life, the right has been saying, watch your rhetoric.
There's a big difference in saying...
There's a big difference between saying it's a bad idea that we should use this rhetoric. And you know, I do think in a lot of cases that is true. That, you know, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to do these things, right? But there's a big difference between it's not a good idea, you shouldn't do that, to you have to do that, compelled by force. Force is the determining factor here, right? And whether or not you have rights.
Watch your rhetoric and arresting people for it. That's not the same thing as what we're seeing in the UK at all.
They're not calling for their
Not calling
arrest,
for
dude.
violence, but calling them
Come
words
on.
starts that dehumanization that leads to violence. So thank you for proving my
This
point.
is like this is
these are
sick.
opposite
This
sides.
is actually sick. What you're saying.
According
I
to this
agree.
logic, using that F word is so dehumanizing it will inevitably lead to violence. Therefore, we can arrest you for it.
What
Yeah,
you're
but see, here's the problem with that. Who determines that, right? Who determines that? Who determines the level of which, like, you? So for example, if I were to say, well, you know, you called me a Nazi because of what I believe. What can I get you arrested now, right? And I think the problem is, and a lot of conservatives, they just don't trust them,
because
right?
that's not a
They don't
slur.
trust them to have the power to make that decision.
saying is that you're calling for people to be arrested for words that make you upset.
We only got
Yeah.
her side of the story. Reading the articles, it says that there was a series of abusive and homophobic messages.
He continues to try and justify the arrest of this woman, claiming it was the right move to make.
Those were then
I
shown.
don't give a shit if you call a person like literally every fucking slur. Then you know
The friend
They
said
weren't
that she,
homophobic.
the friend that she said
They
that,
weren't
You know,
homophobic.
obviously, like there are some things that you really can't say. When it kind of goes towards action, or it has like an effect on in terms of like when the feelings don't matter. When you're like basically saying like, oh, you know, I'm gonna kill you or something, that's completely different because it's a threat, right? Or like just hurting someone's feelings. Like,
This is
why
that
would that
flawed
be?
game. Even if they were, it's still language.
If you can't be anti-Semitic against somebody who's not Jewish.
but we go back to
Well, it
I think
doesn't
it's
make-
worse because the
but
gay slur
here-
was made to make him seem like less of a man.
And this is the problem. The
Yeah.
moment you make a subjective feeling a crime,
Yup.
there's no putting it back. There's no way to stop it. And Pierce tries to point this out by asking a question, well, what about Trump's emotional state when you say things about him?
Is it a
I
slur?
believe that, and I'm
Is it a
making it-
slur against Donald Trump?
No.
Wow.
That's my. Piers, I'm the one saying no.
Why
So
not?
it's not a slur to call somebody.
arguing.
It's not a slur.
And so this reveals the entire. This lifts the hood and reveals the entire thing. It's not about people's feelings. It's not about what's the right thing to do. It's not about if you hurt people's feelings. It's not about any sort of perceived damages you have to that person's psyche. It's really what it is. If you were to peel back everything and you were to siphon off all of the fat and get underneath there, the entire thing is just power. That's what it's about. It's just power and control. Exactly. That's all they want. They want to wield that power against you. That's it. That's all it is.
To call somebody a Nazi, but it is a slur to use the F word
Okay.
about somebody who's not even gay. Can you explain that?
No.
And he has no logical response to this. He's just
Yep.
speechless.
I can't explain what you just said because that's not the point I'm making. You recharacterized what I said.
I'm not sure- Well, the
sir.
point is you're
What
making.
I'm-
The difference is Orange Man.
Yo.
Yeah, that's all it is. There's no
Okay. Okay. Yo, chat. Is it okay to say the N-word if you don't say it to a black person? Technically, it's only racist to say the N-word if you do it while wearing a Klan's robe. Well, technically you have to be wearing the pointy hat and the white robes. in order for it to be racist when you say the N-word. Yeah, man. Yeah, genius
Principle behind
level.
it. It's really just what they can do to build power against you. That's all it is. It's
So
what they want.
stupid.
And the truth is, that's really all it is in the end. Is
Oh,
are
God.
they able to force what they want onto you, or are you able to force what you want onto them? And that's the kind of scary truth of this entire thing. Is our worldviews are so opposite. We have no choice but to exercise force against each other. And when I say force, I don't mean like violence. I don't mean like beating each other up in the streets or killing each other. You have to exercise political force basically against them. You have to force them to submit to your values and your will. Otherwise, they will do that to you. And that involves using literally everything that you can against them. So if they're gonna do ballot harvesting and they're gonna do all this fucking shitty, gerrymandering, shitty, cheap tactics, you have to do the same because you're gonna lose.
Fuck
If you
do
take
you
the high road
mean?
and they constantly take the low road, you're gonna lose basically. You may not mean violence, Leaf, but they do. Yes.
The idea that this is the thing that Republicans will do, man. They will say that we're the Democrats and the Democrats are the Republicans. Okay, now what I mean by this is the Democrats never use cheap tactics in politics. Okay, they always take the high road. Always. They go low, we go high. Okay, now it seems that Leaflet is like co-opting this phrase to basically say that what is happening in politics today, it's actually the exact reverse opposite of what's happening in her worldview, which is that Republicans are the ones who are taking the high road. And it's crazy, man. But if you want a good descript of what I'm talking about, watch this video. Okay, I'll play a little bit of it.
Say, for the sake of argument, you're a
guy
Democratic
makes
president
great videos,
finishing
by the
out
way.
your last year in office. There's not a lot you're expected to do as a lame duck except endorse a Democrat for the upcoming election, but then early in the year, something unexpected happens. A Supreme Court justice dies suddenly in his sleep. Vacancies in the Supreme Court are infrequent as it's a lifetime appointment, so death and the occasional resignation are the only causes of an empty seat. And when it happens, it's the president's job to get the seat filled. So you set about the task of picking a successor, probably the last major decision you will make as president, when the Republican Senate tells you, yeah, we're not going to confirm anyone you nominate. And you say, well, if you think you've got the votes, you can reject my nominee and I'll pick someone else. And they say, oh no, we're not going to vote against your nominee. We're not going to hold a vote. What are you talking about? I haven't even nominated someone yet. We're not going to convene a vote on anyone you nominate. But that's your job.
This
I
actually
make a
happened.
nomination, the Senate holds a vote, and democracy decides who sits on the bench. Well, that's not what we're going to do. You're a lame duck. The next president will decide who sits on the Supreme Court. That's not how this works. That's not how we've ever done things. Certainly not when your party's had a lame duck in office. Well, it's what we're going to do. And you say, that's not what the Constitution says. And they say, the Constitution does not explicitly say we can't. Your wife has a saying for when Republicans act up. They go low, we go high. So in considering your current predicament, you try to think of what taking the high road might look like. The Republicans have always accused you of being too far left, so after some deliberation, you select a middle-of-the-road, utterly uncontroversial judge, the kind of candidate a functioning Senate should have no trouble confirming. You make a display of embracing the spirit of compromise, in the hopes they'll change their tune, or at the very least be shamed into convening a vote rather than admitting this had nothing to do with the timing or the nominee and was just about refusing to collaborate with a liberal. In response, the Republicans announced that not only will they still not convene a vote, some say that should a Democrat win the election, and they don't even know who the candidate is yet, they will hold the seat vacant for however long it takes to get a Republican in the White House. You didn't call their bluff. They are all too happy to admit that this is absolutely about dicking over liberals and guaranteeing as many conservatives as possible in the Supreme Court. There is no official policy for what to do if one party simply refuses to do its job. But there is a legal argument that if the Senate refuses to vote on your nominee, they are, in effect, giving you permission to appoint a judge without their approval, link in the down there part. This is technically a little extra-constitutional, but it is the law in many similar scenarios, and certainly if they're going to break the rules, you're within your rights to bend them. But they go low, we go high. How can you criticize them for going outside the Constitution if you're going to do it yourself? So, being the grown-up, you grit your teeth and do nothing. Seemingly there's nothing to do but publicly shame them, keeping a running tally of how many days your nomination has sat on senators' desks without a vote. You can play this as keeping your integrity, the Democrats seizing the moral high ground. But in response, the Republicans seize the Supreme Court. Their guy wins the election, you finish out your term, and Republicans will put one of their own on the bench. And just before you leave office, and the new guy is inaugurated, and your nomination expires after 293 days without a vote, nearly 3 times the previous record, a Republican senator predicts that, under the new administration, the Democrats, the minority party in the House, Senate, and now Supreme Court, will be the biggest obstructionists history has ever seen. Think of the position this puts Democratic senators into. They have been preemptively denigrated for the exact behaviors Republicans have relied on for the last 8 years. After 2 terms of misuse, every means of obstructing an unfit executive branch, from filibustering bills to shutting down the government rather than approve a budget proposal, has just been defined as going low. Worse, in the event of a Supreme Court appointment being literally stolen by the opposing party, it might be defensible to not convene a vote on whomever that party nominates, except that's exactly the tactic Democrats have spent 10 months condemning. If everything that might restore democratic norms is tainted by the Republicans who violated those norms in the first place, then the only honorable move left is compliance. Give Republicans whatever they want, confirm their judge as quickly and smoothly as possible, treat the situation like it's fair, because that's what they should have done when it actually was. This is, somehow, going high. And that comment from the Republican senator belies the truth.
No, that's
they
being
know
a
what they're
bitch.
doing, and they're not ashamed. They know Democrats aren't obstructionists.
That's
They're
being a
counting
fucking
on
pussy.
it. When one party can be relied on to do the exact opposite of your worst behavior, good strategy is to do to them as destructively as possible whatever you don't want them to do to you. The new Republican norm is you go high, we go low. Now, this is a long-standing Republican thing, and we'll talk about how the alt-right comes into it by and by. And though it's effective, it's not sophisticated. I mean, I just got finished with my intro and I'm already out of things to say about it. So let's turn the camera around and ask not why the technique is popular, but why Democrats keep falling for it. On the face of it, it would appear Democrats are a lot more concerned with being called hypocrites than Republicans are, which would seem a very solvable problem. Republicans are going to yell so much for the tolerant left, no matter what form our opposition takes, so ignore them. But clearly it's not that simple, or we wouldn't be having this problem. Republicans are striking at something more fundamental to American liberalism that makes these charges of hypocrisy hard to ignore. So, what's wrong with liberals? The modern American Democrat is in an unenviable position. You need 2 things to win an election: votes and funding. And there are a number of things that voters care passionately about and that they have no hope of ever getting from Republicans, but unfortunately for Democrats, they are the exact things big-ticket donors despise, which is why Democrats in very secure districts who tend to run unopposed are the ones most willing to talk about them. The left is, in fact, a very heterogeneous group with a mountain of conflicting interests and decades of infighting. So it's very hard to appeal to all of them and wealthy donors. Republicans don't have this problem, or at least they don't have it as bad. Despite many, in some ways, even more passionate and fundamental differences, conservatives value loyalty and in-group cohesion. And this keeps them coming together every 4 years in a surprisingly unified voting bloc. It also helps that they fucking hate us, and most would sooner vote for a Republican they despise than any kind of Democrat. And lucky for them, the things conservative voters want are much more aligned with corporate interests. So building a coalition on the left is a lot of work. And faced with this challenge, there is a liberal tendency to turn away from policy and focus instead on process. Generally uncontroversial things like bipartisanship, compromise, decorum. And fair enough, the absence of these things in Washington over the years is certainly something everyone left of center is sick of, but they're not things Democrats can make happen all by themselves. And more to the point, none of them are results. They're means. Like, a willingness to compromise is not a position, and when you over-focus on how you should go about things and not what things you should go about, it fosters a certain philosophy about government that is both highly flawed and highly exploitable. The valuing of means at the expense of ends. Most people would say that the ends justify the means is a crap moral philosophy. Democrats would agree. But liberals often overcorrect to the point where thinking about the ends at all is thought of as, in a vague, reflexive kind of way, innately immoral. There's a very Enlightenment way of thinking that implies that, with the right means, the ends take care of themselves, and immoral behavior becomes functionally impossible. I want to stress that claiming political group A adheres to philosophy...
I think he meant the means there. I don't know, I could be wrong. But anyway, go watch that video. It's good.
But, according to our principles, we don't believe in using violence in that way. At least
All
I
of
don't.
his
So
alt-right
for me, it's an
playbook
issue of being
videos
prepared.
are
I'm
good.
going to be prepared for when they want to enact violence on me, and then that kind of removes the limiter from me. Does that make sense? If they come at me with physical violence, then I will respond with physical violence to the maximum level. By the way, I don't really believe in a fair fight. I don't. Once they engage in violence, I don't believe in a fair fight. I believe in total domination. So it's kind of like if they're going to come at me with whatever, like and this is kind of why I am very very 2A, is because if they're going to come at me with like a baseball bat, then I want a gun. If they're going to come at me with a gun, then I want a bigger gun. I want a machine gun. I want anything, basically, that I can use against them. If they come at me with a car full of dudes, I want a rocket launcher. You know what I mean? I want an RPG. And that's kind of why I'm very pro.
Leaflet, this is one thing that I find interesting about Leaflet. She spends a lot of time on stream in these videos. She spends a lot of time in her shower thoughts, And we've all met someone like this. We all have shower thoughts. Oh, if I were in this situation, I would do this. I would I'd do karate and I do a somersault and I flip them. Okay. And then I'd pile drive them into the concrete. Okay. And like it's so, but like to do it, like this isn't content, dude. This is not content, bro. It's just stupid.
Pro 2A. I don't believe in fair. Overwhelming force, yes. I believe in using overwhelming force against people that want to use force against you. I don't believe in, in a sort of that's unfair or that's excessive. I don't really believe in that. I want to have a 100 in a fight against people. I don't want to have to deal with. I want Leaflet to have a Gundam so she can do. Dude, me too. Me too. I deserve.
Yeah. I mean, if someone were trying to kill me, I would want to be able to laser beam them from space. I don't really see what that has to do with, like, real-world policy and legislation. Like, does that mean that I should have access to a space laser? The answer is no. No. That would be crazy. Okay? I don't even know why we're
all
talking
women
about
deserve
this.
a Gundam. Well, never mind. It's a bad idea. Don't do that. Just me. And maybe Rana. Rana can have one. And my mom. Yeah, Kirsha can have one too. Yeah. And Celestia. Yeah. Speaking of gerrymandering, I'm gonna watch the recent video of the SCOTUS and doing some of for the Dems. I might. I'll see if I have time to look into it. But yeah.
The Dems are gerrymandering? You guys were gerrymandering overtly. Like Donald. Like the reason that the Dems started gerrymandering is because the president was like, we're gerrymandering, we're doing it, it's so awesome. It's so awesome, and then they're like, I can't believe the Democrats would do this. I cannot believe that they would gerrymander.
Yes, you have to exercise power against them because the worldview isn't compatible. So when the worldviews are somewhat compatible, like you have the and this is by the way, this is the biggest issue with the entire. Well, I have to be careful. this is really the issue with unmitigated diversity, is if you don't have a general foundation that like you can all agree on for society, in the case of America, that would be Christian ethics, right? If you don't have the same foundation for society, then there's no way to convince the other side like what is better, basically, because you don't even agree in the first place on anything, on even the baseline of like what should or shouldn't be. And without common ground, it's impossible, and it becomes an exercise in force at that point, right? Because there's no way you could possibly convince them. And when you have people whose culture, their worldview is so opposed, so opposite, there's nothing you can do but exercise force. And that's why it's kind of like, you know, you have to exercise political power in whatever way you can, which is why, honestly, like I totally agree. Even though in principle I'm against ballot harvesting, in principle I'm against a lot of the tactics that Dems use, you have to do it too. If they're gonna make it legal, you have to do it, basically, because otherwise you're just gonna lose. Basically saying like, oh well, you know, I'm not gonna do that. It's basically kind of like, imagine a scenario where there's like a samurai, and the samurai's like, I believe in honor, and I'm gonna use my blade because I believe in honor, right? And then the other person goes, yeah, well, I have a gun. And then the other person goes, yes, well, it doesn't matter, I will never stoop to your level, I will always use the blade. Well, then you just die. Do you see what I mean? Now you die, and all of your you know, now you die, your children and your wife are now theirs, your entire family, everything you've fought for, everything you've built up for, it now belongs to the enemy. Do you see my point? Yeah. Nobunaga knew that. Yeah, exactly.
Great
and
analogy.
It's just kind of unrealistic. Like, I get it. I get like the lawful good.
While her analogy here is elementary, I do agree with it. I actually do agree with this. It's just that, like, you have to be living in a different dimension entirely to think that Democrats are doing this and Republicans are just forced to do it. Like, no, man, it's the other way around.
Paladin route, like do you guys see why when I was talking about lightsabers, how I told you guys I'm a gray Jedi? I'm not a Sith, and I'm not a Jedi, right? I would use whatever it took to win. If like I believed in my sense of justice, and like I have my morals and my worldview, and I need that to win, I will utilize Force lightning if I have to, right? So what you're saying is segregation is good because if so, I'll allow you honorary status. Well, no, not necessarily. Okay, so I believe that diversity of thought within the same, diversity of thought and experience within the same moral the same moral foundation, I think is a good thing, because then you have a lot of perspectives, and you can solve problems through different perspectives rather than a single perspective. But there is a lot of negatives to both pure homogeneity and diversity. It's a balance. It's not like, and I'm just being honest here, and like, you know, people will probably think what I'm saying is vile, but let's be honest, there are negatives to diversity and there are negatives to homogeneity. There are negatives and positives to both. Right, I'll give you an example, right? So like if you had one of the issues too with this is when you strive for pure homogeneity, the issue then becomes something else, because humans are naturally tribalistic, and it's a constant fight against the human nature of tribalism, which can only really be solved through culture and religion, really. Like it can only be solved through morality, basically, something higher than our base instincts as base animalistic instincts. But say you were to make a fully homogeneous society, say like, okay, only white people in this country, only white people, okay? Say you were to do that, right? Now it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm a white person, but that guy's kind of Irish. It's a little Irish. I don't really like that. You know, his nose is a little weird, right? Like they come from the white people that have the weird nose. You know what I mean? And now it becomes that, and it's gonna like continuously like be like that forever, basically, because of the tribalistic nature, right? So that's why I don't really think that pure homogeneity even solves anything. It might in the short term, but I think in the long term it will naturally it will go back to basically how it was before. Where in Europe, you know, oh, you're French, oh, you're German, oh, you're Irish, you know, you're Welsh, whatever. Fuck you. Like, it becomes like that basically. It's the same thing, which is why I think that the important thing is that we have a cultural cohesion. We have a cultural philosophical cohesion that has a moral foundation that we can all agree on. That's the important part, right? But you can say the same thing about the diversity too. Is like too much diversity in terms of like these people have fucking nothing to do with us. Why the fuck are they living next to me? They don't even believe in the same morals that I do. Why the fuck am I next to them? And that would be like a bad thing too, right? And again, there are positives as well, as in like you have different perspectives and different point of views that you can bring in. It's really about nothing in life. This is the problem I have with people, is a lot of like times people are so retarded in that they don't understand that nothing is ever like, nothing except God is basically purely good. Like everything is always a trade-off. There's always like positives or negatives to a thing, and it's in assessing the positives and negatives of a ideology, a thing, anything really, that we find like what's the best combination of things that will lead to the best results. Does that make sense? The good, the bad, and the ugly. Basically, there's a really funny there's this anime I really like. It's called Centaur's Troubles. Does anybody know Centaur's Troubles? And it has a really, really interesting part in it. It's basically, Centaur's Troubles is an anime about a world in which there are drastic differences between people. So like one person's a centaur, one person's like, you know, a cat girl and stuff like that, right? Like the races are so fucking different. Like there's like snake people and like you know, sheep people and, you know, people with you know, angel wings and stuff. It's like a world in which everyone is so drastically different, all of the races, right? And there's a scene in Centaur's Troubles Troubles where there's a teacher, and the teacher is like teaching a class, and she's like, there's a lot of hatred between the different races of this world, and it is such a bad thing. And like, look, like there's we can only imagine a world in which everyone was the same, and there wasn't like, you know, people didn't have different wings, and people didn't have, you know, gills, and people didn't have, you know, people weren't merfolk, there weren't centaurs. Like, we can only speculate, like, but you know, imagine if we lived in a world where the only difference was like a slight difference in like hair or a slight difference in skin color, everyone would get along. And like, I remember thinking of that, and I was like, that's actually so fucking great. Like, that's actually amazing. That was like in the actual thing, and that's why I say it's the same thing, right? Where if we were to like take that to the next level and say, okay, now everybody has brown skin, everyone has white skin. Now it's what kind of white skin are you? Do you have big eyes, or are you of the big eye clan or the small eye clan? Are you of the big ear clan or the small ear clan? Do you have the freckles clan? Are you the freckles clan? And now everyone's just gonna hate each other for something completely different, because it's just in human nature. The tribalism will never stop. It only stops when we are able to ascend outside of our animalistic tendencies through divine means, basically. Divine or philosophical means, whichever you want to use. But it's gonna take. It takes a lot.
So that's incorrect. Okay. Basically what she's saying here is, people be bigoted. People be bigoted. There is nothing we can do about it. People will always be like this. There is no way to stop it. Okay? No. There is. Okay? People are racist and people are bigoted, and there is a solution to making them not that way. The problem is, when somebody starts to go down that path, it's really hard to pull them back. Okay, impossible even. That's something that they have to do themselves. They have to figure it out and work on it themselves. But you can stop someone from going down this path in the first place with adequate education, okay? By uplifting their material conditions. And the reason why is because when what makes a racist, I think, is a shift, right? A jump in tax brackets. Okay, basically, when somebody becomes poor, or when somebody becomes rich, they are oftentimes radicalized by this. Okay? And because when you go broke, when you had money and then you lose it, you look for someone to blame. Right? When you get money and you don't have it, you need to justify it somehow. Okay, so that's where the elitism comes from. So like poverty racism is like anger, okay, resentment, blame, okay. Rich racism is elitist, disgust, okay, that sort of thing. Divine, like natural superiority, okay, and anyway. That's where I think it comes from. So if you want to solve racism, if you want to stop people from doing it, it is possible. You have to erase those conditions. Okay, you have to stop that sort of thing from happening. And a lot of our laws are designed around maintaining the hierarchy, but only at the expense of poor people. Okay, as in when the stock market is going up, when the money printer is going burr, the consumers don't see any of that that positive climb in the stock market. We don't see that, okay? But the losses are socialized. So when banks fuck up and they lose money, we bail them out. That's how it works. Anyway, let's keep going.
Basically, like, even the most devout people have trouble with temptation, with the animalistic temptations that, like, naturally drive us. It's a constant battle against the animalistic and the divine. It's constantly a battle between it.
Wow. Well, anyway.